So this is one corner of what I call the big pen, and the big pen is, as the name implies, it's pretty big. So what I did is I utilized my existing privacy fence as the foundation perimeter to this pen. Now, that will not always work, but it worked for me because what I did at the bottom of the privacy fence, it went all the way down to ground level, but to ensure that this was totally escape proof, I took landscape edging, a plastic landscape edging, and embedded that all along the bottom of that fence pretty deep into the ground. So there's no digging possible. If you had a burrowing species and you didn't catch them and they were really dedicated, they could probably burrow down and under. But that's not going to happen with the species that are in here. You'd need like a sulcata tortoise for that. So it's pretty well escape proof. And on the other side, to finish the perimeter, I use cinder blocks. Now what I'm going to do is replace that cinder block wall with a wooden wall eventually, but cinder blocks can be used, they're stacked 3 high, they can be used as a very cheap and effective way to frame an enclosure. And this is about 75 feet long of cinder blocks, 3 high. This was done with a single pallet of cinder blocks, which was under $100. I think it was like $98. So that's pretty cheap, much cheaper than lumber. But as I disassemble my deck here, I'm going to use some of that wood. Some of it's really, really high quality, still in good shape. Obviously remove any hardware, things like that. But I want to salvage that wood and, obviously use some new wood, but construct a wooden wall down where the concrete blocks now are. But that aside, that's the basic construction of the pen itself. Now here in this corner, what we have is an area that I call the bog. So this was actually the first pond that I dug on this property, and there's no liner in it. The thing that I have going for me on this property is that all of the soil is clay. So if you dig a hole, it will hold water. And originally I had a liner that I was going to put in this, but I dug out this pond, and you're only seeing a little bit of it. A lot of it is covered in vegetation. So I dug out this pond, was getting ready to put the liner in it, and a storm came in before I could get the liner prepped and ready to go. And it filled the whole thing, and it never dried out. It never lost any water. So I just decided, let's just try this as a small natural pond. And that was several years ago, and it has worked. So there are water lilies planted in it. That large plant that you see in the corner, that's on land, but that is a plant called Petasites japonica gigantea, otherwise known as dinosaur food, very appropriately named. And it's pretty large, so to give you perspective, that's about 4 feet high. And it can get bigger than that. It can get up to 6 feet tall if the conditions are just perfect. It gets a little too much sun. It loves the shade in that area. Now, throughout the rest of the pen, as we go down, this whole area, I call it the bog because it's very shallow water, and it's sort of a lower area than the rest of the pen. So the water flows from up at the top pond into the middle pond and down here. This is where Gulf Coast box turtles love to hang out. We also find a lot of the wood turtles here, but the wood turtles do range all over the pen. And if we zoom in a little bit, we have a lot of reeds here as well. There's a 3-toed box turtle back in there, and another one there. And we see just a lot of turtles hidden in the grasses, the reeds. Of course, there's water iris growing here as well. And as we pan over, you can see there's an egg laying area here where I've mounted up some sand. Of course, turtles don't always do what you intend for them to do. So a lot of times they will do this. And right at the center there at the base of the wall is a nest. So just inches away from the sandy nesting area, right in the clay soil, somebody's deposited their eggs there. Now I do intend to leave those eggs there. I do prefer to ground hatch a lot of my offspring. I should say the eggs that are laid, I prefer to let them ground hatch. I find it's a really good success rate. I find that the hatchlings that are ground hatched just tend to be a little bit more robust. Now, having said that, for the spotted turtles in their stock tank, I do take those eggs and incubate them. They're in a much more controlled environment where the eggs wouldn't really hatch on their own. But here in the pen, I'm just a little bit more confident that they will hatch properly out here. Now, this video is about this pen, this big pen. And here in the middle, we have the main pond. And all the ponds that I have here, I've dug out by hand. So I didn't use any excavators or large tools for this. This was just me and a shovel. But nevertheless, this pond is about 20 feet long and about 8 feet wide. So not huge, but not tiny either. Of course, we got water lilies planted here. This is the shallow side on the right hand side, and as you pan over here, that's the deep end. Now, I was limited in how I constructed this pond just by the geology of the soil here. So I live in an area where what little soil there is clay, and then the rest is rock. And if you look closely, you might be able to see through the glare. There's quite a few little minnows in here. Those are rosy red minnows that do breed in here. And they do great to control mosquitoes as well, and occasionally a food source for some of the more intrepid wood turtles, but that's pretty rare. Anyway, this deep part, I was able to get about 3 feet deep into the soil before I hit rock, and you can see there's sort of a rocky shelf. That was also about as deep as I could go there. So this part is quite shallow. Aside from where the lilies are, that's about a foot deep where the lilies are planted. And then we get about 3 feet deep here. Now, the important part of that is that allows the wood turtles that are in this enclosure to hibernate in the water with very minimal intervention on my part. The only thing that I've added is that aeration. But the wood turtles stay out here year-round, as do the box turtles. Now, of course, the box turtles, for the most part, burrow into the ground and don't have any issues there. But the wood turtles do hibernate in this deep section of this pond. And they all tend to do that. There are 8 adult wood turtles in here, and they all congregate in that deep part of the pond during the coldest parts of the winter. Now, moving over here, this is what I call the top pond. Now, this pond was constructed before the middle one here, and these rocks, these stone slabs, were actually the original boundary of this pen before I expanded it. Now, this pond has a liner in it, so playing around with different methods of constructing ponds, you can see there's quite a bit of algae here too. There is an aerator as well, but the algae just tends to grow no matter what you do around here when you have full sun exposure. There are obviously some animals that will eat that, like snails and things like that. There are snails in all the ponds. But this is the top pond, and this is also fairly deep in the corner here near where I'm standing. If I were to jump in there, it would be about up to my hips. Now, there's a lot of leaf litter in there right now, but that provides just another water source. And what I do when it's dry is I will actually put the hose in the top pond and let the water rise. It will go over these rocks into the middle pond and then overflow into the bog area. And that's an easy way to just let the hose run for a little while and provide water to all of the different ponds within this enclosure. And then as we move over here, this is the oldest part of the enclosure, and this is where we have blackberries growing. There's a mulberry tree, a young mulberry tree. There's some ferns that I planted in here. There's a fig plant right here. And of course we've got our hardy banana trees growing. And then this is dominated by a cottonwood tree that is only about 6 or 7 years old, but it's grown very fast. That's the fastest growing tree in North America, Populus deltoides, the cottonwood tree. And then we have some more of that dinosaur food plant over here, as well as some additional ferns in the corner. Now, this is the upland part of the pen, where there's a lot of leaf litter. We've got some shallow water pans here for box turtles and things like that. Wood turtles are also up here quite a bit. The wood turtles and the box turtles utilize all of the pen, although the Gulf Coast box turtles never come up here. Interestingly, they always stay at the far end. They have the run of the pen. They never go far from that bog area. And I don't know exactly why that is, aside from just that's what they prefer, but they're never up in this upland portion. That's more of a forest habitat. But you find a lot of the easterns and three-toed box turtles up here. And the wood turtles too on occasion, although they do tend to stay in the more open area where there's more water accessibility. But that is the Big Pen at a glance.